Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Sin.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to What, Where, Why Space Marine. I have some great news. I got a call back and landed a job interview to interview for a Space Marine position.
Wow.
So, I would like you to help me prep for the interview.
Okay. So before we get started, you are aware that job has a minimum height requirement.
I mean, maybe that could be like strength and weaknesses, you know? Now, Sophie.
Yes, Sin.
I'll be honest, I kind of applied because it seemed interesting, but I don't know that much about it. And I hear that you do.
Okay.
I hear you have a lot of Space Marine experience.
Yeah, on and off since mid-90s.
So, can you tell me, what's a Space Marine?
So, Space Marines are a faction in Warhammer 40,000, and they are a genetically augmented super soldier.
Like Armored Core?
Well, no, it's more like,
Like not Sailor Moon. The other.
No, not
the other
Sailor
guy.
Moon.
I'm picturing a man, and I just have Sailor Moon.
MD Geist.
No. He's also
They are more like
transformed.
MD Geist.
Actually, all right.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah,
It's an entire army of MD Geists, but they're slightly more controlled. Okay.
I'm a perfect fit for that position. Oh my god, thank you, Sophie.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Super soldier. Super
there's...
America. Captain America. That's who I was thinking about. Not Sailor Moon.
No, they're different.
Okay. Thank you, Sophie.
So, in the current setting, Space Marines are recruited as children. They recruit them as prepubescent boys. And then what happens is that as they mature, their puberty is kind of overridden by this, like, super puberty that causes them to grow to, like, say, like 7-ish feet tall, 7-8 feet tall, get incredibly muscular. During that period, they're also implanting things in their bodies. So they're implanting, like, additional organs that let them do things like spit acid. They can grow a membrane around their skin that lets them go into suspended animation. They have, like, an additional heart. They have additional stomachs. They have, like, bits of metal coiled around their sinews and their muscles and their tendons and things, so they're incredibly strong. And the main thing that they have is they have this thing called the black carapace.
Okay.
Where underneath their skin, there is this layer of black material which allows them to interface with that powered armor that they wear. So if you look at a Space Marine out of their armor, they'll have all of these, like, little ports on their bodies.
Okay.
And that's like an interface for the armor to go through their body into the black carapace, and that lets them control it.
Okay.
They're also brainwashed.
So the armor interfaces with their body and their organs.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of like Armored Core. Because...
in that one sense, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are welded into robots, so...
Okay, like Big Daddies.
Sure. Are you familiar with the position description?
Well, actually, Sophie, there was not too much, and the main requirement was purge the xeno filth.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that because I actually landed an interview as a helldiver as well. Late at night, I think of you, your vision floods my mind. And they're all about purging the bugs. So in the Space Marine universe, are xeno filth also like the bugs you kill?
So the Xenos are anything that's not human. So that includes the bugs.
Okay.
It also includes, like, space orcs.
Okay.
It includes space elves.
Okay, good.
It also interestingly includes a faction who are descended from humans in the distant past but have since diverged.
Okay.
So they're viewed as being so distinct now from humans that they don't qualify as human.
Okay.
And those are the space dwarfs. They're called
Okay.
they're called the Leagues of Votan.
Okay.
There's also space robot skeletons. Those are Xenos. There's a lot of Xenos out there.
Okay. So Xenos, not Xeno. Xenos.
Xenos is the plural, I
Okay.
think.
Okay. I thought maybe it's
Yeah.
like silent, like in French. You know,
No.
Space Marine are not French.
A ripe blackberry murmurs to the wall. Une murmure, murmure, murmure.
They could be French.
Okay, because in my understanding, Space Marines are like English speaking, so like Anglophones.
Thank you, 4chan. I'm sick of this forced diversity shit.
I only know the Space Marines that are blue and
Yep.
speak English. So I guess
Okay.
and they kill bugs. So I assumed that the Xenos filth were just bugs. But you're telling me that they're just like out there killing everyone, which is like makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But at the same time, that's like job stability because there's a lot of things to purge.
Yeah. Xenos just means alien.
Okay.
When you said they speak English, in the Warhammer universe, a lot of it is written in like not terribly accurate Latin.
Ah, okay.
And that Latin is referred to as High Gothic, so that's why they're saying Xenos instead of alien, because that's alien is Xenos in Latin. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Do I have to like learn Latin too?
No one really seems to care.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Okay.
The Blue Space Marines specifically have a long-standing feud with the bugs. I don't think they make them anymore, but they'll probably bring them back. They actually had a dedicated unit of they were called the Tyrannic War Veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Those bugs are called the Tyranids, and the Tyranids have like eaten quite a lot of the blue guys in the past.
Eaten?
Yeah, they eat them.
Oh, that's wow.
There was an event called the Tyrannic Wars where quite a lot of the blue guys got wiped out by an invasion of Tyranids. So,
oh no.
Like I said, they don't make them currently, but I'm sure they'll bring them back because they're doing like a range refresh deal. There were these specific ultramarine units called the Tyrannic War Veterans, whose job it was just to fight Tyranids, and they had like specialized ammunition and stuff. Yeah.
That's very cool. Thank you, Sophie. So there's this Space Marine who was purging Xenos filth and then like perished heroically in battle.
Okay.
And then I think was revived and was like a prime.
Oh, Primaris.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Okay, so like I mentioned, there was a big like range refresh of the Space Marines that's happened sort of over the last about 10-ish years. So Space Marines, like we went over, they're kind of like augmented humans, like you have to make them. And what happened was when the Emperor got interred in the Golden Throne and history kind of stopped for a while, they didn't really alter the Space Marine much. They're just like, we'll just keep making these the same way.
Okay.
And then this character who had previously never been mentioned in the story.
Okay.
He just kind of showed up one day. And he's like, yo, just letting you know, while you were doing this for the last 10,000 years, I made some better Space Marines. But it's okay because the Emperor said I can. Do you know Attack of the Clones?
Yeah.
They basically did Attack of the Clones. But instead of Tamura Morrison's, it was new model Space Marines. So they're bigger, they're stronger, they use different equipment, and they basically had a bunch of them on ice, like in Armored Core. And when things were looking bad, they're like, okay, so we've got these new Space Marines, they're better. We'll just let them out now and they can protect us.
Okay.
So when you say the guy was wounded and became one, there is a thing that they introduced called crossing the Rubicon Primaris.
The Rubicon?
Yeah.
The Rubicon, like Armored hardcore. Oh,
Yes, and
exciting.
interestingly,
Yeah.
both those things are a reference to Rubicon Street Fish and Chips in Sebastopol, where both games were written. So what they can do is they can upgrade a Space Marine into a Primaris Space Marine.
Okay. So it's an upgrade. It's not a downgrade.
No, it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade. Purists would see it as a downgrade because a lot of people don't particularly like what the Primaris did to the setting.
What did they do?
Okay, so the thing about Primaris is like it's a range refresh. So all the people who had, say, been collecting Space Marines for like 30 years or something, one day it's like, hey, there's new Space Marines now.
Oh, and they're better.
They're better, and they're not like a one-to-one replacement. Like, they use different equipment, they're in different formations, they're like essentially a completely different faction within the Space Marines.
Mm-hmm.
And what they've done over the last little around 10 years is they've gradually been phasing out the old Space Marine kits and replacing them with the new Primaris ones, which has also involved like removing those from the rules entirely.
Oh my god, they're like rewriting history.
Essentially, yeah, you're getting it. So you have to imagine like there's a lot of people who spend a very long time collecting, thousands upon thousands of like Space Marines, and now they're realizing that their days are kind of numbered, and they want you to essentially rebuy everything as a Primaris.
Oh no, that's messed up because we there's a store that opened at the Carrefour, and it's like it's the store for millennials, I think, because it's all like friggin' anime and like gaming and tabletops,
Yeah.
And there's a Warhammer section, Sophie, and they have like stuff, and they had like little kits with like, I don't know, probably the guys aren't even built, so you have to paint them yourself, and it was like $50. Little guys were like 50. There were like patches of grass that were like $10. There were also like all the little. That's crazy.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh my god! So they have to. Oh, I'd be so mad. It's like telling me my Pip-Boy is no longer accurate. I'd be so mad.
Yeah, you're getting it. You're getting where a lot of the rage came from. The other thing is that, like, aside from that, within the
sorry,
that was a
Enzo
cat.
in the
You're not going to do
yeah.
well as a Space Marine if you're frightened of a cat. I'm just saying.
Enzo, you Xenos filth! Don't scare me.
So the other issue that they have is like within the universe, right?
Yeah.
All those the Primaris ones, at least the first wave of them, they were already pre-made, and then they just kind of like dropped them in the existing Space Marine armies as reinforcements. But the Space Marine armies, they're broken into these things called chapters. The idea is each chapter has its own like culture and history, and they all have like a lineage they're descended from. But if you just drop a Primaris guy in there, he's not from that. So there's this like, oh, they're overriding, like, you're dropping like a new Primaris guy in the Space Wolves, but he's not a real Space Wolf. Sort of that sort of stuff.
Maybe I should maybe specify, maybe this is like a Primaris position, so they can take you and put you somewhere.
Like, I mean, you could undergo the Rubicon Primaris and maybe grow a couple of feet.
Yeah,
that might help the height requirement thing.
There you go. But
yeah,
for like, and like, that's coming together. I thought maybe it was like a scam posting, but actually it's starting to make sense. Thank you, Sophie.
Yeah. So those are the two big objections to the Primaris.
Okay.
On the positive side, the Primaris kind of allows for a reset in a sense. So if you have like an idea for like a Space Marine chapter that you want to do,
okay,
the fact that like they did a big reset and they're like, yeah, we just made a bunch of new ones. It's sort of easier to like integrate that into the setting. One other thing they did interestingly is like all the Space Marines are descended from one of 18 like superhumans from like the dawn of the Imperium.
Yeah, we talked about this, like Soul Reaver. Yeah.
So half of them went traitor. So within the Imperium, it's actually only 9 that they're descended from, because the other half of them. But
wait, Imperium are people under the Emperor?
Yeah, that's you.
Okay. Yeah. And are Sound Marines in the Imperium?
No.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But when they did the Primaris ones, it's sort of like not explicitly stated, but kind of stated that they did use material from the other 9 guys to make them.
Okay.
So if you want to make, like, let's say, like, because you liked the Noise Marines when I showed you them.
I love the Noise Marines, yeah.
So you could say that, like, well, this is my new, like, Primaris Space Marine chapter, and Hush Hush, they're actually descended from Fulgrim's gene seed. So even though they're on the Imperial side, they maybe have a little tendency toward, like, acting like that. So I'm fine with that aspect, honestly.
Okay. Thank you, Sophie. So, on interviews, they ask you, like, what are your strengths and weaknesses, right? One of my other big strength is that I love the Emperor.
Yeah.
He's very cute.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I also love the Sound Marine guy.
Yeah,
he's also very
Fulgrim.
cute.
Yeah. He's still around. He's still around.
But I'm like, I guess it depends. I'll have to figure out who's hiring exactly, because I don't want to be like, I love the Emperor, and then it's the Sound Marines, and they'll look really silly.
You would look a little silly, yeah. They just execute you on the spot. The thing about the Heretic Space Marines is, like, obviously they don't have access to, like, as much technology as the Imperium. So they're a little desperate for recruits.
Ah, okay.
So I reckon if they say no to you in the Space Marines, I'd maybe apply to the Chaos Space Marines, because they'll there's a that then maybe they're a little looser with hiring policies, fewer, like, checks. No minimum height requirement.
Wait, there's no minimum height requirement?
I think they're just like, they just cut you open, shove a bunch of organs in you, and see if you died or not.
Okay, I'm actually really resistant to, like, I'm very healthy, so I think I'd be fine. Yeah.
Before we recorded this, you said you were experiencing memory loss.
Yeah, memory loss. That's psychological, Sophie. That's not physical.
That's true. It makes you easier to manipulate.
So, weaknesses. If they ask me what my weaknesses are, what would I say? But you know how you're not supposed to say, like...
Yeah, you're about to say, like, oh, I overwork myself. Or something like that.
I would be, like, the top purging person. You know what I mean?
Like, it'd be like, I'm a little too pure.
I'm a little too pure. That's good.
Yeah, I take my work home with me.
Yeah, I'd keep purging
sometimes,
at home.
Like, after I've finished purging, and I just, like, I have trouble sleeping at night if I don't finish purging, if the purging's not done properly. Yeah, I don't give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes. So, like, if I think someone's betraying the Emperor, you don't necessarily wait for, like, full confirmation. I just crush their skull immediately, and then the skulls of everyone around them for not informing me.
Now, Sophie, can you tell me, where are the Space Marines, generally speaking? Like, if I'm going to work from the office, and not from home.
Okay, yeah.
Where would I be working?
So all the idea behind the Space Marines is that they're broken into these chapters. Each chapter is roughly 1,000 Space Marines strong, and they will all operate kind of semi-autonomously. Mm-hmm. They all have, like, a different thing they do. So, like, some of them are, like, just based on a planet, and their job is to stop anything getting past it. But then there's other ones that are formed into what are called crusade fleets.
Okay.
Where their job is, like, you were created to stamp out, like, this specific, like, alien species. So their whole existence is they are just nomadic, going throughout the universe, hunting down that species and just recruiting from wherever they happen to be stopping at the time.
Okay.
And then there's some where, like, their base of operations will be a fleet of spaceships rather than a planet. Some of them get lost in Event Horizon Hellspace and then reappear later on.
Okay, that sounds excellent, because, Sophie, let me show you something.
Oh my god, the special edition of Event Horizon!
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah, this was not planned. She just has that on her desk.
I just have it on my... Do you want to see what else I have?
I'm not sure I do.
We hope you are enjoying this episode. Please take a moment to stretch and hydrate. To see the unedited version, please go to patreon.com/ScHlAuChi. Thanks for watching, and back to the podcast.
Yeah, Fallout. Surprising
Fallout
nobody.
3, Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
unopened. I actually found them on sale a few years ago. They were selling them at like one of those Best Buy stores or whatever.
Don't you already have those?
I don't have them unopened physical. They were literally like 10 or 15 bucks or something. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm taking. I think I would have taken more, but they only had these on the shelves, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's of course this.
Shakespearean and Soul Generator that I remember from like 5 years ago. Got
Yeah,
a
we
lot
should
of.
start using it again. Yeah.
I'm good. Yep.
And then of course this book.
Oh yeah, the Yowie that you like didn't order and just arrived because you got someone else's package.
Yeah, it's still unopened, still
So you've
on.
got a random issue of some like Yowie manga.
I don't know what yaoi is, but here it says, thanks to Yichi Roji's lies, his sugar daddy is dead, and the object of his affection, Yakuza head Akitora Yomato, is bleeding out. Needing to lay low, Yuichi and Akitora seek refuge in a gang safe house where pain and pleasure quickly collide.
Yeah.
Somebody who ordered this will be disappointed because they got my package and it was just a Fallout notebook.
And on my desk I have a copy of Frantz Fanon's The Wretched of the Earth, with preface by Jean-Paul Sartre. The thing about the Space Marines and the Emperor is that, like, all the different chapters kind of view him in different ways. So, like, a lot of the Space Marine chapters, they won't necessarily view the Emperor as a god.
Okay.
They'll view him as, like, sort of the patriarch of their line. Like, he's, like, this great warrior from the past that they venerate as if he is a god. Whereas the Space Nuns, like, it's much more, like, no, this guy is literally, like, a god. We are worshipping him. We are, like, his angels and his brides and stuff.
Oh, so they're like nuns, like
Yeah,
nuns.
they're nuns.
Okay.
And, like, they will have conflict with them, like the Space Nun. Well, the Adeptus Sororitas. The Adeptus Sororitas, they will have, like, they'll have conflicts with some of the Space Marine chapters because those chapters will not recognize the Emperor as an actual divine being. So they'll, like, fight them over, like, little tiny differences in theology.
That sounds unproductive when we could be purging xenophils together.
At the end of the day, that's what brings them together. They all hate each other, but they hate aliens more.
Thank you, Sophie. Okay, so let me ask you, Sophie.
Yes.
Why are the Space Marines?
So, this is where it gets a little like, have you read 400 supplemental novels? Okay. Because the background of the universe, like, in the actual game books, is described in quite broad and vague terms. And it's always described as, like, this all happened tens of thousands of years ago. And we're now in the aftermath of that. What happened semi-recently is that they decided to fill in all of that history through a series of, like, God knows how many novels that chart all of this stuff. I haven't read them. I don't want to read them. I'm sure they're fine. I just have other things in my life I have to attend to. I don't really have the time or the inclination to go through the entirety of Horus's character arc. So the simple answer is that very, very long time ago, in as far as the 40k setting is concerned, so like our future, right?
Okay.
There is this immortal figure called the Emperor. He's not called the Emperor at the time.
Okay.
And he's been around since, like, I think his date of birth is around something like 3000 BC. So he's this immortal figure throughout history, right? After humanity on Earth collapses and turns into this, like, Mad Max kind of, like, free-for-all wasteland, he's like, I'm going to unite humanity. And he makes what he calls the Thunder Warriors. So the Thunder Warriors are like proto Space Marines. They're like super soldiers, but he makes them out of adults.
Okay.
And they're like the first draft of Space Marines. They're not particularly stable. They all end up dying or being killed afterward because he doesn't want them around because they're kind of unstable genetically and psychologically. And when he sort of unites all of Earth together with his Thunder Warriors, he starts tinkering and trying to perfect them into something that he believes he will be able to use to launch this thing called the Great Crusade.
Okay.
So he'll launch this massive crusade across space, and he'll basically bring order to the universe. Or the galaxy, I guess. It's a big universe. We'll say the galaxy for now. He's trying to bring order to the galaxy by, like, creating this legion of super soldiers that he's going to send out and, like, take over, essentially. Bring everything together. Yeah, and he's trying to, like, sort of forcibly unify everything with these Space Marines that he creates. That's why, like, they're sort of independent. Because the idea was, like, we'll just make these, like, groups of Space Marines, and it's like, okay, you do this thing, you do this thing, you do this thing, you do this thing, and then we'll sort of bring everything together at the end. So the Space Marines themselves are, like, Thunder Warrior Mark III-ish. Like, he's sort of experimenting with the tech. They add in all the stuff about this woman called Erda who works with him, but, like, she's not in any of the game books I've read, so I can't comment. I know she's in the novels. He creates these 20 superhumans called the Primarchs, who are going to be the template for the Space Marines. And the idea is he'll make these 20 superhumans. They'll be like his sons. They're kind of like, they all have bits of his DNA in them, but he makes them all, like, with a specific purpose in mind. And he creates 20 of them. 2 of them mysteriously vanish. This is something that they came up with, like, 35 years ago, essentially as a joke. But then, now that the series has kept going, they've had to, like, try to justify its existence, and they can't quite, like, figure out the explanation. 2 of them mysteriously vanish. So there's 18 of them. Just as the Emperor is sort of, like, about to complete his project, the Gods of Chaos, we haven't mentioned them yet, but they're in it.
Okay.
Basically, the thing about the 40k universe is, like, people make a point of, like, oh, it's like black and grey morality and it's grimdark and everyone sucks. And it's like, it's not quite that. It's, at least in its original sort of, like, form, the idea is it's not supposed to be about good and evil. It's about order and chaos, which are not, like, moral necessarily concepts. So, like, the Imperium and the Emperor is meant to represent absolute order, which is bad because it forces everyone to, like, conform to a very narrow idea of what they're supposed to be, and everyone's restrained. And then there's the Gods of Chaos on the other side, who are, like, absolute chaos, which is also bad because everything sort of degenerates, and they're just, like, in sort of perpetual this tug of war, essentially. So the Gods of Chaos, just as the Emperor is about to complete his Primarch project, they grab the Primarchs and scatter them across space.
Okay.
So the Primarchs are scattered throughout space on different... They're babies at this point, by the way. They're little babies in capsules.
Oh my god.
They all land on different planets.
Okay.
And they get raised there. But the Emperor's still got, like, bits and pieces of Primarch DNA. So he's still able to get his Space Marines, he just doesn't have his Primarchs. So then he launches this massive crusade to unify the galaxy, and then as he's on this crusade, he keeps running across the Primarchs who have now grown up. So he'll land on this planet and he'll discover that, like, there's this, like, 9-foot tall guy there who's leading a slave rebellion. And it's like, oh yeah, that's one of the Primarchs. Hi, I'm back.
That's one of the Primarchs.
Yeah, so then he reunites them with their legions that he's made out of their genetic templates, and then when that's all done, they go to bring order to the galaxy, but then one of the Primarchs, who's, like, his favorite, who's called Horus, he goes rogue. He turns against the Emperor and joins Chaos, and he takes half of the Space Marines with him. So there's this massive war called the Horus Heresy, and that ends with Horus dying, and the Emperor doesn't die, but he gets mortally wounded, and that's why he's now on life support. So the Emperor in the current setting is basically a corpse on life support. Everyone's just trying to carry out, like, the Emperor's directives, even though he's no longer really a player in the setting.
Okay, but that's not my Emperor. My Emperor is the
Okay.
cute one.
Hashtag not my Emperor.
Hashtag not my emperor. Yeah, it's the one, you sent me pictures and he's really cute. That's mine.
That's before he got in the fight with Horus, yeah. Yeah, so the Imperium is essentially there. It's like a bunch of bureaucrats trying to carry out the Emperor's directives, even though the Emperor is not able to communicate with them anymore. And the Space Marines are still out there defending the borders / expanding the borders into the galaxy.
Good for them.
The idea behind the Space Marines is they're meant to be like a frontline force. They're like a brute force, like a hammer sort of thing. That like if you need to get something, they're like shock troops. Like if you need something done right now, you just drop like a couple of hundred Space Marines on the planet and they'll just like decimate it because they're so incredibly powerful. As opposed to like, there's just like regular human dudes who just look like contemporary 21st century soldiers. And like the idea behind them is different. Like you run them like an actual army. Like there's like, millions and millions of them marching along, whereas with Space Marines, it's like, we'll just drop them behind enemy lines and they'll smash everything to pieces.
Thank you, Sophie. So I think I'm pretty prepared for this interview now.
Okay.
Like I feel like I understand what's happening a little bit. So just so I maybe understand correctly. So the Aquamarines are just boys.
The Ultramarines, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the Aquamarines probably do exist in the setting because one of the things about Space Marines that makes them popular is they're a very like simple design. So people just come up with like their own Space Marine chapters and like come up with their own names and everything and their own color schemes and symbols and stuff.
So we can come up with a faction that's obsessed with like Takashi Miike.
I think that's the next step in this is we have to invent our own Space Marine chapter.
Okay, Sophie, thank you so much. This was very informative. Very, very interesting.
How far are you in Space Marine 2?
Not very far.
Not very far, okay.
Not very far. But I've done a lot of purging.
Have you seen the Dreadnought yet? I know there's a Dreadnought in it.
Is that the coffin?
Yeah, that's a coffin. Yeah, so if a Space Marine gets mortally wounded, right?
Yeah?
He's not dead yet.
Okay.
They can put him in a special coffin.
Mm-hmm.
And then the coffin goes in this thing. And he can keep fighting.
Wow, literal job stability. I love it.
Very much, a lot of job stability.
A lot of job stability. Lots of things to purge, and if you're dead, well, look, you can keep working. Wow, amazing.
Yeah. There's a very, very old one who met the Emperor.
Oh my god.
His name's Bjorn the Fell-Handed.
Okay.
He's like,
cool,
I think
Bjorn?
he's technically I don't know if he is anymore because I think they added some more guys, but I think at one point he's technically the oldest character in the setting. Because he's just like a corpse on life support inside a coffin, so like he's just been around forever.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sophie. This was very awesome and very informative.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot, and I'm sure I'll ace that interview.
Feeling positive, yeah.
Feeling positive?
Yeah.
Sophie, do the outro.
I don't know what that was. That was Sin saying, with the we're a Space Marine, and then she just asked me to explain a lot of things to her. I'm hoping she does well. I'm picturing her showing up in like platform shoes with her hair spiked up to pretend that she's not 5'1".
And a half.
There's a faction of space dwarfs.
Okay, there we go.
Join them.
I'd be the tallest.
You probably would.
Yes. Well, thank you, Sophie.
Thank you, Sin.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. See y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.